Mike Tomlin, man. This dude is unbelievable, always disrespected. Seemingly, if they can't beat the Patriots, he goes into the year on the hot seat, even though this organization's had 3 coaches in 50 years, and he's never media on the hot seat, not actually on the hot seat. Like the speculation about him. And this team was 0-3, and I thought made a grievous mistake. They traded their first-round pick for Minkah Fitzpatrick because they, I thought, foolishly believed our season's not over. I was like, man, AB gone, Le'Veon gone, Big Ben's elbow popped. Your season is over. And since then, they've won 5 out of 6, and the only reason it's not 6 out of 6 and they're not in first place in the division is an overtime loss to a Baltimore team that's been sensational all year long. For the first time in a long time, Coach, they have a Steeler defense that reminds me of the Steeler defenses they had at the beginning of the Mike Tomlin era. And now, it's not just Minkah Fitzpatrick. The rookie Devin Bush has been sensational. T.J. Watt continues to turn into a star in this league.
The defense as a whole, getting back to old school Pittsburgh.
The defense has been great, but the Minkah Fitzpatrick, and now, by the way, that pick they traded for him is not going to be a top 10 pick the way I thought it was going to be. It might be in the 20s, certainly in the high teens, which means it's absolutely worth it because you got a star player on a rookie contract that you know is good. I want to give Tomlin the lion's share of the credit. The players obviously deserve a lot too, but this is shocking to me. I thought the Pittsburgh Steelers were dead in the water this year, and Tomlin and that organization would not let that be the case.
It is really amazing what people can accomplish when nobody cares who gets the credit. And it's been so different in Pittsburgh for so long, where it's been a battle of personalities, and talked about a lot that it's like a conflict diamond. They had to have that conflict constantly in order to get to where they wanted to go. So for them to have a team now that you don't hear about any of the personalities, you don't hear about anybody looking for their credit.
Yep.
And it's unique. And Tomlin was trending in that direction, and now he's got a group that's operating in that way, and I think that reflects his personality. And I have a ton of respect for him. I have a ton of respect for the resilience that this team is showing. What they've had to go through from a transitional standpoint is really difficult. Am I as sold on the defense as you are? I don't think so yet. I like a lot of the stuff they're doing. Those old school Steelers defenses, though, it's hard to put this group in
and I didn't mean to.
Group.
What I mean is that the defense had been a huge liability for them the last year plus, and right now it's their strength.
Well, you know, and to your point earlier, I do think that they finally got all the ingredients that they need to have a traditional Pittsburgh Steelers defense. You know, they got two great outside guys in Bud Dupree and Watt. They finally got, somebody who can replace Ryan Shazier and Devin Bush, that fast guy that you can blitz. But I think what makes this Steelers defense a little bit more unique is the addition of Mark Barron, who gives them somebody when they go against a team like the Patriots that is used to playing in space, because he's a converted safety, so you can put him on some tight ends, and he can be able not to be a liability when they get spread out. Now, Minkah Fitzpatrick makes him special because every 3-4 defense that's elite that I've been on has always had an impact safety. Now, Trey Edmonds is going to be a future player, but Minkah Fitzpatrick is arguably the best safety in this division. That's with Derwin James, and that's with Jamal Adams, because his ability to also get off the hashes in the conference. Also because his ability to get off the hashes, and he's a guy that can play in the slot as well. He gives you so much scheme versatility, and they have so many players that can give you so many different things that they're able to adjust to different types of defensive attacks. And this offense is just playing complementary football. This is how the Steelers used to win before Ben became of age, running the football, not really throwing the ball that much, and playing stout defense and getting turnovers.
So where does this leave the Rams now? The lure of genius Sean McVay, the money that they paid Jared Goff. Where does it leave the defending NFC champs?
Well, for this season, they're cooked, but it's worse than that. Because they join, if we're going to cross sports, they're now in the category the Washington Wizards are in, where they have a player on their team with the single worst contract in their sport. What John Wall is to the Washington Wizards, Jared Goff is about to be the Los Angeles Rams, which is an anchor around their neck that pulls them to mediocrity. He's got the biggest cap hit of anyone in football next year. Like that big contract he got does not really start hitting their cap until next season. They believed that they are this close to the Super Bowl because they were in the Super Bowl last year. but something's happened to him. There was that duel against Patrick Mahomes on national television last year, 54-51, changed football. Since then, he's got 18 touchdowns and 25 turnovers. Since then, he's got a 79 passer rating, and since then, his team is 10-7. And so now McVay's got to eat some of that too, because he got so much of the credit early. And obviously, Todd Gurley, it's a shame what's happened to him. That 12 carries for 73 yards. We're like, wow, Todd actually had a good game. That's where he is because of his knee issue. But the Rams went from the hottest item out there to something that's going to be left on the shelves for years to come, I fear, because they got the biggest cap hit in football for a running back next year, the biggest cap hit in football for any player next year in golf. They've got the second biggest cap hit for any player in football in Aaron Donald. They just traded for Jalen. Like, they have a team that is built to win right now, and they don't show the ability to do it.
I think you're being a little too harsh here. They've got to learn how to deal with adversity. They haven't had very much of it. And people wrote Jared Goff out before Sean McVay got there.
Rookie season.
And we were killing Kirk Cousins and his contract early this season. Things can turn around for them just like it's turned around for other people. The
problem is they have 2 quarterback contracts on the roster on the offensive side and the defensive side, Jalen Ramsey. So that stops your ability to create depth. And, when you can't live through injuries, they're missing a lot of players because they have to get players that are fill in at cheaper prices as later in their career they just want to play for the opportunity to win a championship. I think they're one of them. It depends on what Packers team shows up. I have a little concern with their inability to stop the run at times. But, this defense on the outside, they have everything that you need. They have lockdown corners, the ability to have scheme versatility. And I think what makes them different is they don't have to put everything on Aaron Rodgers all the time. He just has to be special at times. He showed tremendous, pocket awareness, stepping up, stepping out. We already know he's one of the mobile quarterbacks in this league. But I think Devontae Adams coming back and proving, that he can win one-on-one. Aaron Rodgers needs somebody that can win one-on-one. They struggle without Adams, but you have to give it to Aaron Jones and how he's able to really establish the ground game for the Packers. I think that's the difference in this team this year.
To me, they're the best team if they can play defensively the way they hope to, and that's to be able to rush those guys on the outside. Both the Smith brothers, they're very opportunistic defensively. They generate a lot of turnovers. It's when teams run the ball consistently and run it at them, they've had issues. And they haven't shown that they have that issue fixed. Now, Carolina, I thought, could have taken advantage of that more yesterday than we saw, but they didn't. And then when you look at last week and the things that happened out west, that gives you a real concern, too, is how well are they handling this success?
Well, and so for if the Packers' biggest issue is the inability to stop the run, that will be on full display after the bye week. Because after the bye, they play San Francisco in what all of a sudden is one of the marquee games in the NFL all season long. We'll see what San Francisco does tonight. But no matter what, that's going to be a game with the #1 overall seed potentially in the balance. New Orleans' loss plays a lot into that. I do think they're the best team in the NFC, and I think they are the team best positioned to make the Super Bowl out of the NFC because with New Orleans' loss yesterday, they have the ability to do something they haven't done in 5 years, and they've only done twice since Aaron Rodgers has been the quarterback there. Have a bye. Be able to skip the first round of the playoffs. In fact, the 2014, that's the last year they had a bye. That's the Dez caught it year. Yep. And then the Seattle comeback in the NFC Championship game with the Packers overtime loss. Since then, they've only played one home playoff game. That was the boat trip game for the New York Giants in 2016. I knew they hadn't had a bye since 2014, but when I looked it up this morning, I said, really? We've had one Lambeau Field playoff game in 5 years? And you saw yesterday, some teams aren't equipped or built necessarily to handle the conditions the way the Packers are. Now, the Packers, in recent history, weren't built to handle the conditions themselves. They couldn't run the ball. They weren't great defense. They were just throw it all around the yard team. This year, it is different. And Rodgers wasn't great yesterday, but he was good enough. The defense got to Kyle Allen, as you mentioned. You saw the Smith brothers able to basically neutralize that team's passing attack. And while the Panthers had a nice drive at the very end of the game, they were in a position where they needed that drive because the Packers had dominated the first 54 minutes of that football game.
What I liked about the Packers is that they didn't need Aaron Rodgers to come in and do it all himself. Right. They found a way to scheme for the rest of the team to get that win, and it made you feel more confident that when they do need Aaron Rodgers, you still have that. Was that a positive takeaway for you?
Yeah, remember, this offense is a work in progress, right? This is his first year in the system. You got to work the kinks out. You really don't have a grasp of the entire package of being able to make the adjustments. You know, they're only going to get better moving forward. Until then, this defense and the run game has to carry them. And really, Aaron Rodgers has told you as much, right? Early in the season, he thanked his defense when it hasn't always looked pretty. But while you're figuring out, as long as you can run the ball and be on schedule, it allows everything to open up for Aaron Rodgers down the field. And he's smart enough to recognize when you're blitzing him, when he has to one-on-one coverage, and his ball placement is tremendous. You know, and he throws a great deep ball. And with Devontae Adams, you're always going to have to put two men over the top of him. Jimmy Graham, I think, could be better, should be better, and they have to find another guy outside of Adams to be able to really affect the passing game.
To Bart's point, they need to improve offensively, and there are growing pains because we've got a new system, and Aaron Rodgers has really carried them, and he has a lot of say as to what play they're going in and out of. That whole discussion in the preseason where he's not going to be able to audible, well, he audibles and he gets them into good plays quite a lot, but how well does this system evolve with him in it and the relationship between he and Matt LaFleur? That's going to be critical, too, because they can't rely on their defense solely. This offense has got to take some bigger steps.
But it's such a critical win for them after they no-showed against the Chargers. They were 7-1, feeling great. If they had lost 2 in a row going into the bye, that would have been the longest, most frustrating bye week ever. Instead, they get a win against a very quality opponent in Carolina. They now are 8-2. They see New Orleans give a game away, so they and New Orleans have the same record. And they
chalked that Chargers up loss to an outlier.
Well, as you say, it's an outlier. And by the way, I said New Orleans the same record. New Orleans actually 7-2 because they haven't had their bye yet, or they already had their bye. Pardon me. So, and now they look at it and say, okay, the team we're chasing, we get a chance to go beat. We get a chance to go beat the San Francisco 49ers, and after that, they only play, in the final 5 weeks of the year, they only play one team with a winning record. That's the game at Minnesota on Monday night in Week 16. It's the Giants, it's Washington, it's Chicago, and then in Week 17 it's Detroit. And we assume Matt Stafford's going to be back by then, but we don't know his full status moving forward. So the Packers have an opportunity to not only have a bye, but have an opportunity, if they can shore up the run defense during the bye week and beat San Francisco, to have the #1 overall seed, something they haven't had since the 2011 season when they were 15-1 and Tom Coughlin and the Giants came in there and beat them.
And the bye comes at a great time because Coach understands during the bye week you self-scout and you're able to kind of see your tendencies and what packages are working for you, what packages aren't working for you. You're able to make the adjustments because now the teams are going to start adjusting to the film because this is the first offense for the entire defensive coordinator to look at. They're adjusting, and now the Packers can have opportunity to adjust and take a breath.
And the longest bye week is New England after that Baltimore loss.
Oh, yeah. That's probably
it won't even be close.
That is true. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.